Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be exposing everything and talking about all of the things I spent money on with my first year of salary at my 9-to-5 engineering consulting job. If you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Paige. I'm very big on transparency and authenticity. So on this channel, I have shared all about starting my 9-to-5 engineering job and then finally quitting that job. I expose my income, everything I spend my money on each month, as well as all of my goals and progress updates. We have some big life changes coming up soon because our lease is ending in March and we will be moving away from Washington, DC. So if you're interested in the moving process and how we're doing all of that financially while living on decently low income right now, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and ding that notification bell if you want to be notified about all of my future uploads. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about my transition from college to my first 9-to-5 full-time job. We're going to be looking at my income from July 2020 through June 2021. My last month of work was July 2021, so I'm giving you a full year right before I quit. We'll be looking at my end of July 2020 net worth and then my end of June 2021 net worth, so you can see how much everything changed over 1 year. I'll be sharing my exact income that I made during those 12 months, as well as my spending. Overall, we'll be looking at the categories that I spent my money on, but we will also be taking note of any very large purchases that I made over the year. I think this is going to be a super fun video and interesting to see what I spent my money on, especially now that my money mindset is very different. I will be making a video all about how my money mindset has changed since I left my 9-to-5 job. So if you want to hear about that, make sure to hit the notification bell to be notified when that video goes live. So a little bit of background to hopefully make some of this make sense if you're new to my channel. I did get married in August of 2020. So about 1 month after I started my 9-to-5 job, me and my husband eloped and he moved up to Washington, DC to live with me. But throughout the last year, I was definitely the breadwinner of the family, if you want to call it that. He was working part-time to full-time throughout the year and also studying to take the MCAT to go to medical school. So his income was much more variant, and it's also a more minimum wage job. He wasn't working a salary job. So you'll see, we'll look at his income as well, and that will be shared, but do take that into account because my total income will be for 2 people living in Washington, DC, as well as our spending. But let's get right into the numbers. I'm gonna pop myself down into the corner here and pull up my screen so I can show you guys my YNAB account. If you're not familiar with YNAB or you need a budget, it's basically a budgeting software that allows you to import all of your expenses and budget in the zero-based budgeting system. So basically you give every single dollar a job and you want to hit budget 0 where every single dollar is accounted for. So we're going to start by looking at my net worth for the end of June 2020, right before I started my 9-to-5 job. As of the end of July 2020, my net worth was negative $399. You will see that my assets equaled $4,048 and my debt was $4,447. So we did have a negative net worth at the beginning of my 9-to-5 job. And for reference here, when I look at net worth, I will be including all of the accounts that I have except for my student loan debt. So if you're curious, I have about $12,000 in student loan debt and my husband has about $10,000 in student loan debt. Over the past year, we have not made any payments on our student loan debt since the interest was put on a pause and we had other things we were trying to pay off during that time, which you'll see as we go through this. But just note that there is another $22,000 total in debt that me and my husband do hold that I do not track in my budget currently, and I will be adding that in at the end of January once we have to start making payments again on that debt. As you can see, when I first started my 9-to-5 job and came fresh out of college, I did not have money at all. I had saved up a good chunk of cash to be able to put down the deposit on my apartment, and part of this was also my moving transfer bonus that I got at my 9-to-5 job in the month of June before I started. My first week of work was the first week of July, and I would have gotten at least one paycheck in this month. So if it's not hard to already tell, my net worth was negative. I was in credit card debt when I started my job. I did actually have to use my credit cards to help pay for my moving expenses when I moved to DC because I did not have a lot of cash to use. Now we are going to look at our income for the entire year of July 2020 through June 2021. So if we pop over to here, we'll be able to see every month's income throughout the year. It's important to know, A, like I said, my husband did have a job as well, and B, there was a lot of stimulus checks that came in during this year for both me and my husband, as for anyone else who lives in the US. So if we go to total down at the bottom, we can see the entire year's income to see that in total, me and my husband made $64,105.63 in those 12 months for an average of monthly income at $5,300. Now, I think it's interesting to go up to the top here and look at each income source to get a feel for things. First of all, we can see here that my job income was $40,855. Then this $2,000 was part of the stimulus checks that we got. Then you'll see I had some reimbursements from my job, which were for any expenses that my job then reimbursed me for afterwards, such as gas or food, anything related to client meetings or field visits that I had to do, or specific items I had to buy for my office at home. You'll see that I also had this other paycheck that for some reason did not go into the same category as the top. So there is another $1,700 that should be in my total up here. This $3,000 was actually a yearly bonus that I got at the end of December. Then we have things like deposits from cash for things that I sold on Facebook Marketplace, or money that I got from family members or friends for birthdays, our weddings, stuff like that. Now we have more IRS payments. So here we have our tax refund of $1,049. We also have another $2,000 here of stimulus checks. Every month, my company did give us a $65 allowance or stipend, whatever you want to call it, for our cell phone usage, since we did use our phones for work, which totaled to $520 here. And then you will see the long list of payments from my husband's job where he was getting paid, which unfortunately they all like separated out mostly. So it's giving us like every single payment that he got. But at the end of the day, it all totals up to $64,000. That was our yearly income for the year. The one thing that is not included on this spreadsheet and is not showing up is the fact that my company also put about 15% extra into a 401k for me. It wasn't a matching program. It was literally that they took 15% of my yearly salary and they put that on top of my yearly salary into a 401k. So now we will move on to spending. And the thing I love about YNAB is we will get this great circle graph to look at our spending and look at each category and get a deeper dive into what the money was actually spent on. So as you can see here, it shows that our total spending for the year was $53,891. If you can't do the math, that means that we had about $11,000 left over that we did not spend from our yearly income. Our average spending per month was $4,490, which if you watch my monthly budget recaps, you will know that I'm currently trying to stop at $2,500 a month in spending. So it's really interesting to see that I was on average spending $2,000 more per month than what I'm trying to spend right now. And before we jump into a more detailed breakdown, let's look at this trends graph. If we look down here, we'll see that immediate obligations covered about $27,000 of our spending. Just for fun covered $10,000. True expenses were $6,500. Quality of life goals, $6,000. Then we have hidden categories, which I will go through and explain, and business expenses, which totaled $1,000. So let's hop back over to our pie chart and jump into immediate obligations so we can get a feel for what this covers. For immediate obligations, we have rent, groceries, utilities, gas, internet, car insurance, transportation, car fees, and renter's insurance. So basically, I consider this our monthly bills that we have to pay each month. Our rent was about $19,000 for the year, which if you divide that out over 12 months, it's about $1,600 per month on rent. Now, again, it's important to remember that there was that month of July where I actually paid the rent for that month the month before. So we did actually spend more in rent than $1,600 a month. Our next highest in immediate obligations was groceries at $4,200 for the entire year, which is about $350 a month, which is pretty on par with the way that we budget per month for groceries. Utilities was almost $1,700 for the entire year, which averages out to about $140 a month, which is actually pretty high, and we are trying to actively reduce our utility costs. I did talk about that a bit on my last budgeting recap video, so if you're interested, make sure to check out my October financial recap where I go into more detail about how we're doing that. Gas was about $500 for the year. Internet was almost $500 for the year. Transportation was about $280, which that include Ubers that I took, taking the metro, parking fees, taking trains to go see friends or family. Any flights that we took to go back to Florida were actually not included in this. I did have that in my fun money, so you'll see that later. Car insurance was $400 for the year, and then car fees was about $258. And also for reference, our car insurance didn't start until February of 2021. Oliver's dad was actually covering his car insurance while he was in college. So when he moved up here, when that policy ended, we renewed it ourselves and started paying for the car insurance. And this $400 was a 6-month policy. So in reality, our car insurance more looks like $800 for the entire year. Then we have car fees, which was specifically for transferring Oliver's car up to DC and getting a DC license plate, getting a parking decal, etc. And then lastly, we have renter's insurance, which our renter's insurance is $10.34 44 cents per month. So next, let's hop into the just for fun category, considering that is our second highest spending category. Disturbingly, we can see here that we spent $5,500 on eating out in the entire year, which is very, very disturbing because that's almost $500 per month that we spent on eating out, which is more than we spent on groceries. There's probably no reason to really look at this, but there is a ton of purchases for eating out throughout the year. The next one is fun money. So this covered things like video game purchases, Amazon purchases for our home, any clothing purchases that we made. There's this big purchase here, which I will talk about in a second. Bath and Body Works, more games. We got Minecraft purchase on here, a lot of Amazon, some games for my Switch, Target runs, thrift store purchases, home goods. Oh, for some reason I threw in 2 train tickets in here as well. $200 for a hotel, Victoria's Secret purchase, more Amazon, Anthropologie, Aritzia, Bed Bath & Beyond had a big purchase. Now I'm gonna run back through and talk about these large purchases. Starting at the top here, we have this $1,100 purchase, which that purchase was specifically for our bed. Once I found out the amount of our yearly bonus in December for my job, which I mentioned before was about $3,000, I decided that I wanted to upgrade our bed from a full-size bed to a king-size bed. And then promptly after that, we spent $138 on our actual bed frame that I purchased from Amazon. So that alone was probably our biggest purchase of the year. Everything else was pretty small purchases that just really end up adding up to quite a bit of money for just the fun category. Next, we're gonna go to Oliver's birthday. I decided I wanted to splurge on him and buy him something really, really great. I went to Micro Center, which is kind of like Best Buy, but they have a lot of PC parts and he's always wanted to build his own computer. So we splurged and I let him go there and pick out all the parts for his computer, and that was his birthday gift. I really just kind of wanted to treat him to something nice and give him a good first birthday married to moi. Couponing, I spent about $145 over the year, which basically what I consider couponing is any CVS purchase, as well as the $5 a month I pay for the CVS Care Pass membership. $145 for basically all of our personal care items as well as cleaning supplies is a very good deal. A lot of that stuff I'm still using till this day. I keep a pretty good backfill of products to use. And then lastly, we have gift money. So at some point, Oliver got some gift money from people, I think for Christmas, and he deposited the money in his account. So I purposely set it aside in a budget for him as gift money so that he still used it for gifts, even though it was now just like mixed in with the rest of our money. He did purchase a few things for himself off of Amazon. Anyways, so yeah, that is our just for fun category. It's pretty hefty, but mainly it's the eating out as well as the big purchases for Oliver's birthday and then for our new bed that we purchased. That in itself covers a ton, but if we had just cut this dining out like in half, we would have been in a much better place. Let's head over to true expenses since that is the next highest category. In true expenses, we have stuff I forgot to budget for, home items, clothing, compassion, gifts, personal care, car maintenance, coffee, an Instacart subscription, medical, and then all other categories. Let's look at the stuff I forgot to budget for because I find this very intriguing. I did not know I had this much stuff in here. I did at some point expand parts of my budget and make more categories to make up for the fact that I have these random things sitting in stuff I forgot to budget for. One of them was getting my ring resized. That's what this big purchase is for. Farmers, Fishers, and Bakers is a restaurant here in DC, but I did take my mom there for her birthday, hence why I have $94 here instead of in the dining out category. I bought my mom tickets to Museum of the Bible for all of us to go when she came to visit me in DC. Oh, okay. This is where we find gems. I put our honeymoon expenses in this category. So we did spend $1,100 on our hotel for our really short honeymoon we went on after we eloped. We went to Virginia Beach for a few days, so hence the high cost there, as well as $94 to get my nails done before we eloped, $160 for my hair, which I got done, $100 from Etsy. That was specifically my corsage and Oliver's boutonniere that he wore on his jacket. Long story short, a lot of money spent on wedding items. My veil is in here. Probably at least half of this is just things from my honeymoon, and then a lot of gift purchases. Home items, $641. I did have a separate category for home items, but it looks like I started it at at the beginning of the year. So the first half of the year, I was putting those home item purchases in all sorts of different places, and then I created a separate category. I'm most intrigued about this $285 Etsy purchase, which was actually my couch cover, which is like 100% linen. Spent $300 on a couch cover. Granted, my couch was literally $100 off of Facebook Marketplace used. It had a lot of scratches from boba, so this was actually a pretty cheap way to make my couch look new again, but still, $300, a little excessive. Clothing, $527. You'll see there's like a lot of returns in here as well. There's really not much to say here. It was a lot of H&M purchases, Victoria's Secret loungewear purchases, just too much stuff. I bought way too much clothes last year. I've never spent that much money on clothes. I'm much more of a thrifter, which that still adds up, but not $527 worth. Compassion International is basically an organization that allows you to sponsor children. So I've been sponsoring a child for I think like 5 years now, but I've been paying $38 ever since, as well as birthday gifts and Christmas gifts for the child. Her name is Lovely. But the fact that I spent more money on clothes than the child I sponsor is like disturbing. Like that's just not okay. All other categories. A lot of this is my Apple iCloud storage. I started putting cat litter in here because I did make a separate category for boba part of the way through the year. I think I have books as another category. So a lot of these are just categories that are very small, so it compressed it all into one for $400. Gifts. I did make a separate category for gifts at the beginning of the year. That is what all of these purchases were gifts that I sent to people, money I sent to someone through Venmo. Personal care. So again, I started putting the CVS purchases in here, but a lot of this is like toilet paper that we had to buy. Sally's Beauty. I did buy some stuff to do my hair at home and some more Amazon purchases. Car maintenance. So we only spent $150 on car maintenance. Oliver did have one flat tire, and so he had to buy a new tire, as well as he got his oil changed. Coffee. So this is specifically just Nespresso, which I luckily bought some right before I left my job in June, and I have not bought any since, and I have a ton more. My Instacart subscription is $99 per year. I will most likely not be renewing that next year, but I did renew it right before I left my job, which in hindsight, I wish I had noticed and not paid for that, but I didn't know it was about to come. And then medical expenses. A lot of this was supplements that I purchased. I'm not sure what these two are, but I'm assuming they were more supplements because I was on a supplement kick at the beginning of 2021, as was probably anyone else in the beginning of the year with New Year's resolutions. But yeah, that is it for our true expenses. We're almost at the end here. Quality of life goals. So here we have house down payment. And basically what this was anytime we transferred money into our investment account and anytime we got dividends in our investment account. So for that total spending I talked about at the beginning, where I said $11,000 is how much we didn't spend, you could probably actually add another $4,000 because that was put into an investing account and counted as an expense because it actually left my account. Vacations, we spent $782. We did go to a bed and breakfast in February and spent $358, as well as we spent $424 on flight tickets to go to the Keys for this trip that we had planned with Oliver's dad for a long time. But you'll see that we have Christmas travel separated. We spent $390 on our plane tickets to go home, as well as our checked bag prices. On the theme of Christmas, before we jump over to MCAT, we have Christmas gifts. So I did have a separate thing for Christmas gifts, and we did end up spending in total $323 on Christmas gift. Then lastly, we have MCAT. So Oliver did spend $573 on taking the MCAT, as well as practice tests, questions, stuff like that he paid for as well. Hopping out of there, we're gonna head over to business expenses. Out of the $1,099, program tuition was $1,085 of it. Right before I left my job, I did sign up for this program that basically taught you all about how to become a coach through social media. So that was the cost of that program, which was a huge stepping stone for me in deciding to leave my job, was signing up for this program. Although I'm primarily now focusing on YouTube more than I am coaching, it was a huge jumping point for me to actually start moving towards working for myself and creating content. So I'm forever grateful for that. Even if I'm not using it as much as I hoped I would, it still was definitely worth it for me. Then we have TubeBuddy, which I started paying for right before I quit my job as well, when I started taking my own business more seriously. And then we have Software, which was for an app that I paid for 1 month for a video that I created. But the majority of my business expenses are actually back in hidden categories. The reason for that is because I would create a category for a specific purchase I wanted to make, such as a new camera. Then I would save up for that purchase, buy it, and then hide the category once I had funded it and purchased it. So I have $3,305 in hidden category expenses. So if we jump down to the bottom, the first one of this this was actually for my iPhone loan, which I had a few months left of when I first started my job, but I did finally pay it off, which is why I then hid the category. And then we have these car loan purchases. So as soon as we had enough money to, and you'll see the majority of it came from my bonus check that I got at the end of the year, me and Oliver paid off his car completely. He had a few $1,000s left on his car loan, and we just paid all of that off, so he wasn't accruing interest. Then we have $500 from Micro Center again, which this time was actually for me to buy the camera that I'm recording on right now. So I did invest in a new camera. Apple, I spent $320, which was for Final Cut Pro, which is the program I use to edit my videos on YouTube. So again, another business expense that I had been saving up for over a few months to buy. This Intuit purchase is actually for TurboTax, so we spent $106 to file our taxes this year, and that is it. Those are all our categories. So all of that ended up totaling $5,400, which is pretty wild. Now it's the time where we look at our end of year net worth and see how it changed from the entire year that I worked my 9-to-5 job. Throughout the year, we had some interesting changes, which I'm going to explain. We ended with a net worth of $24,639. We have some really weird big jumps going around here. And the reason for that is there was times throughout the year that I started incorporating my new accounts into my budget. There was a point from October to November where our debt goes up a ton, and that's because I actually added Oliver's accounts to the budget in November. So because of that, we had his car loan added onto our account, which then made me very aware of what was left, which is why we then paid it all off in December, which showed a huge jump in our net worth, mainly because we got that huge bonus in December, as well as I think one of the stimulus checks came in December too. And then the next huge jump is from April to May. And the reason for that is because you'll see our assets change from almost $14,000 to almost $27,000. The reason is we added my 401k account to this budget tracker so that I could actually keep track of that, hence why we have such a big jump here. But overall, the truth of the matter is that at the beginning of the year, I had no money in a 401k and everything was being tracked on my account. Then Oliver obviously came into the picture, but honestly, no offense, Oliver, he mainly brought debt. So he added on some debt from his car loan, which a necessary thing to have, and we paid all of that off. But at the end of the year, we ended with a change in net worth of $25,000, which is honestly crazy. Like, that is a lot of money, and I'm very proud that we were able to actually invest that, save that, pay off debts that we had, and get to the point that we were at when I left my job. Which, if you look at this, you might say, well, it makes a lot of sense why you felt kind of comfortable leaving your job, because we did make a lot of progress. I paid off all of my credit card debt that I had when I first started my job, almost $4,500 worth. We paid off Oliver's $2,000 leftover of his car loan, and we saved up a ton of money in investments in my 401k account. When I left my job and we had almost $27,000 worth of assets, the main amount of that, $19,000 worth, was actually from my 401k account, which has sat at $13,340, give or take fluctuations and market changes, since I left my job. And then about $5,500 that we had in my high risk and low risk investment accounts through Betterment, which is what I use to invest my money. We've had a lot of great change in net worth. I'm very proud. It's honestly insane that we could make that big of a difference in just 1 year, but obviously working full time does make a big difference. But we did also have a huge jump in expenses from what I spent money on in college. Also, lifestyle creep is a real thing, and I definitely spent a ton more money than I ever did in college when I had a 9-to-5 job. You saw some of the big purchases I made. Definitely would not have made those purchases in college. So yeah, that is all I have for you guys. If there's anything else you want to see on this topic or questions you have, make sure to just leave them in the comments down below. I'm happy to share literally anything related to finances. I think it's really important to actually show this stuff and share what it's like to be in your 20s, living on your own, or being married, and figuring out how to navigate the financial world. Everyone says it, but obviously this stuff is not really taught in school, and if you don't have a curious mind for it, you definitely have to force yourself to go out and learn. But the more information you have about it and the more you get used to it, it's actually pretty fun to keep track of your finances and watch your net worth grow. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you on Wednesday with another one. Bye.